Hey YouTube, this is Southern Prepper 1. Got a little squirrel right there, probably can't see it, but it is a fall morning. You hear the roosters out. Trees are starting to turn. That one's turning yellow. Leaves are falling, seasons are changing. Just a reminder, if you have a get home bag in your vehicle, a bug out bag in your vehicle, and you might need to switch over and throw some of that winter stuff in it, gloves, hats, if it's not already in there. Just make sure you do that. Certain parts up north are even getting colder than down here. The reason I did the video is I've talked to a few people recently and I'm very concerned. They have no plan. A few of them were elderly, so you know it's hard for them to do anything. They have limited mobility, but they still need a plan. So today's task, this is a prepping thing that you can do right now that costs you nothing. Zero. Absolutely zero. But this could be the biggest and most important thing you will do with all your preps. Is start listing on a piece of paper the threats that you have in your area. If you're on the coast, yours could be a hurricane. It could even be a tsunami. The Russians possess a weapon that can create a tsunami along the coast and do utter destruction. So if you're on the coast, do you have a plan for a tsunami? Now is the time to write it down on a piece of paper. Threat, tsunami. What's my plan? Where do I go? Where's the highest ground? Where's the highest building? Now is the time to think about it when you're clearly thinking straight. You can investigate, not at 3 a.m. in the morning when the emergency alarm goes off, and it tells you, hey, there's a tsunami. That's not the time to say, uh-oh, where's the highest point? You might be in a city area where you might be able to go to a big building and try to get to the highest floor if you can't get away from the coast totally. This is now the time to think about this. The world is changing rapidly. The threats are real. You can still be in a bubble. There is a threat of nuclear war occurring in the United States, inside the world, somewhere. Something could happen. I don't have a crystal ball, but it's a threat. So on your piece of paper, you need to write down, you know, nuclear war, EMP, any threat that pertains to you. You might live in the country and you're in a drought area, fire threat. Start writing these threats down and then jotting notes underneath them. What to do, where to go. You don't need to be trying to figure it out at the last second because you're going to have very poor planning. Plus, the time to act is then, not to come up with a plan and then have to start implementing it. Come up with a plan now. Start going through some dry runs, going through, if you know you have to flee the coast and get to a stronger or a taller building, walk it. If you say, well, there's a building here, it's 4 miles away. The roads might be totally impassable when people panic. So how long does it take you to get from point A to point B? Maybe you need to have a safe zone outside your suburban area that could have a serious fire rip through. Do you have a place where you know, hey, I could go here, there's less fuel, there's more chances of me surviving at this point. Now granted, if the emergency people say, hey, leave, go down this route and go to this area, follow it. You might not have the ability to hear that message, or they might not have the ability to put the message out. So now at least you have a plan. So many people are not putting it on paper. Put it on paper. Follow through. War game it. Scenario it. Rehearse it. The more you can do right now, the better you're going to be in any disaster with any problem. So your goal is to start listing threats that could impact your life. Underneath those threats, you're going to list everything you can do to mitigate that threat. You might say, well, I can flee, but then you realize, oh, I only got a quarter tank of gas. In worst case, you might not be able to get gas. Might be no power on the gas stations. Now is the time to prepare. Brainstorming costs you zero. Sit there in your recliner and turn the TV off and make your list today. All the threats and what you're going to do to mitigate them. And then start walking through some rehearsals, walking through some planning. The more you do now, the happier you're going to be when the crap hits the fan. The world is changing rapidly. Resources are becoming scarce, or if they're not becoming scarce, they're becoming manipulated so they're not at the point where people need them. I hope you're preparing. I hope you're networking. I talked to someone last night, and she said she didn't have a community. You're not looking for a community, you're looking for one more person in your tribe, one more person to join your group. If your group is just your family, if you could find one more family, you've just doubled your strength. So don't look for a community, look for individuals, because then when you find another good family, guess what? The two families will look for another family, and your chances of finding someone else is greatly increased until you can grow into a group of people that can support each other. I hope this helps. Every threat that could face you needs to be written down. There's another threat that can face you. Where are you going to go when you die? We're all going to die, unless the Lord comes back and raptures. But where are you going to spend eternity? Are you assured that you're going to go to heaven? Do you believe that you are going to be with the Lord when you die? If you don't have that assurance, you can have that assurance. You can believe in Jesus Christ. I'm not going to give you the whole salvation message right here, but if you're struggling, if you're confused, prepping for eternity is where it's at. Prepping for now is great. Eternity is eternity. Your 60, 70, 80 years on this life is a vapor. It means nothing. So I hope you're prepping for eternity. If you're confused, if you're struggling, if you just want to know how you can have insurance, contact me, southernprepper1@yahoo.com. southernprepper1@yahoo.com. Eternity is much more important than the coolest prepping items. Thanks for watching.